All right, let's see where we left off at. I'm going to bring this back up here. Bring that down. Open. I think it's that one. Yeah. Bring that back over here. Okay, so in the last one we kind of discussed pretty much my beginning journey in learning how to write code to websites, including this one right here, and then the time it took for me to figure out actually what I could use to write code on. So let's continue with what I could use to write code on, because that's kind of the starting point from once you want to actually learn to write code. So the Notepad, I believe there's also another one called Notepad Plus or TextEd Edit if you're on Mac. These are called IDEs. Do a search for these real quick. I don't know how many of these there are, but I'm pretty sure there's quite a few of them. And they all work a little bit differently. Never used a lot of these. Actually, in fact, I've only used two, which is Notepad and one other one, which I'll get to here in a little bit. Looks like we got another one called JetBrains here. Not sure what this one is, or if that's even one at all. AI Code Cursor.com. Yeah, I'm not sure what that one is. Anyways, this one I have heard of, Visual Studios. A lot of people I know use this. Some of the people, in fact, I watch as far as YouTube videos are concerned to learn how to write code, use this one right here. I've never used it myself. I've never tried it. I may end up switching. I'm not sure. Let's see, other ones. It doesn't really mention a whole lot of them. But anyways, so I also know of Code Blocks. There's Visual Studios Code, which is not the same as this Visual Studios right here. So this one's actually Visual Studio. The other one is most of the time called VS Code, not Visual Studios Code, but it is Visual Studios Code. I don't know what other ones there are and stuff. There's probably quite a few of them out there. If you know of any more and stuff, please feel free to link them in the comments. Or leave a comment or whatnot saying which ones they are. Like I said, I've only tried two of them, and that was Notepad and VS Code. Uh, a lot of people don't even use Notepad or Notepad Plus or TextEdit anymore, just because these other ones will do the same thing and they're a lot more user friendly. Just because when it comes to putting your code together, you need a place to store all this stuff. Now, here's something else that doesn't get mentioned and stuff, and I kind of learned this the hard way as well. Let me change this real quick. Let's take this and adjust it here. Let's put that up. We want go and create another one here. I'm going to go and move this one up as well. I'm making some adjustments in OBS Studio here. Here's the first adjustment. I'm going to add another one here for window capture. No, not, yeah, window capture. This is called File Explorer. We'll just give it that name. Okay, and let's select the window, that one right there. We're going to adjust this. So when you're making windows in OBS, I know you can't see this really. It took me a while to figure out how to get things to keep moving around even though I'm creating them and stuff. It's got two different options in OBS and stuff. One's for Windows 7, one's for Windows 10 Plus. Um, I've always got to switch it over to Windows 10 so it'll stay active and current for what I'm doing. We'll go and click OK right there. And then we've got to move this one down one. Yeah, that works. And we'll just leave that like that, I guess. Transition that over to that. And here's my Explorer thing. When I first started doing this, I was kind of given directions on how to make files and sort of things. Because um, one thing you're going to want to do when you're making code, you're going to end up having a file. You're going to end up saving a file. You're going to end up creating more files and stuff with different code in it, especially if you're using uh, multiple types of let's switch this again here. Let's turn that off, turn that on, transition, turn this off for just a second. Transition that, especially if you're using multiple different types of code. HTML is one type, CSS is another type, whatnot. Primarily what I'm sticking to right now is C++, but I'm also using other things too as well. But you're going to want to keep each thing of code in its own file instead of trying to mix it together. It just kind of helps to make adjustments to particular things without having to scroll really far. We'll get into that here in just a second and you'll see what I mean. So if you were to use HTML, CSS, and Python, or Java or JavaScript, all three of them and stuff, you're not going to want to have it all in one file. You're going to want to have each one of them in a separate file. And then if you end up creating another HTML file or CSS, I mean, you can end up having 5, 10, 15 of them all together. Well, if you want all those to work with each other, the best option that I have found so far is to keep them all in one folder. And let me bring this back up real quick. So these would be all considered folders and stuff. Files, folders, one big way you could tell the difference between the two, folders do not have a size to them. Files do. And as you can see and stuff, the type, it literally says file folder right there. Why can't you see? I know why you can't. You can see the highlighted areas. Let's switch this over to let's go ahead and turn that off, and you should be able to still see. Yep. And transition that over. Now you should be able to see my mouse. Okay. Move this out of the way here a little bit. Yeah. So you're going to want to keep all these in its own file or folder. Each bit of code in its own file. Each file, if you want them to work together with each other, it's best to put them into a folder together. Think of a desk drawer and stuff, where a filing cabinet or whatnot, where you have a bunch of folders and stuff, and inside that folder you have a bunch of pieces of paper and stuff with information on it. For example, if it has to do with students, or if it has to do with different people or different items or whatnot and stuff, receipts for house, well, you got a folder for the receipts. For the house, you got a folder with the receipts for the car. You got a folder with someone's specific name on it and stuff, and maybe papers or essays or assignments or something like that and stuff if they've done or whatnot. You're going to want to keep those in individual folders with those specific people on them. Now, those pieces of paper obviously won't work together, but when it comes to code and software and stuff, they will actually work together. Um, it would be like you going to the file or the folder and, sorry, here, maybe some water will help. Give me a second. It'd be like, so you're the person that's going to the folder. You find the folder, you open it up. You got all these files in it. Well, that's kind of the same way software works. It's the person and stuff that's going to the folder. It's looking in there and stuff, and it sees all these files in there and stuff, and kind of use them all together. Otherwise, if you don't do that and stuff, if you decide to separate it and put all your CSS or styling projects in one folder and all your HTML in another folder and so forth and so on, then like the person, you're going to have to give instructions and tell it, hey, if you want to use this with this, you need to go to here and go to here, and you're going to have to continuously give instructions and stuff for what's in what folder. Human beings, we don't think of it that way and stuff. We just know where the information is. Well, this doesn't know where that information is. So if you want it to know, you got to tell it exactly what to do. This is when it comes to writing code and stuff, that's kind of something that you have to do. You have to be kind of talk babyish to it, I guess you would say. One foot in front of the other. Move this hand, go here. Move this hand, go there. Look at this. Use this right here, the color for this. This folder right here keeps the color in it, so forth, so on. It's a lot of work. Well, when it comes to Notepad and stuff, that stuff right there, it's a little harder to link. I mean, you can still link it, you can get it to work together with each other and stuff, but there's other ways of doing it that are easier than using Notepad. I don't know what Notepad Plus does, but so let's just jump into that right there real quick, because I made the mistake of just putting the files and folders on my desktop, and then come to find out that they would have such a long directory of how to get to them. Directory. So what does that exactly mean? Directory. Same thing as instructions or directions. If you want to find this file or folder, you're going to have to go to here, 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 here. And like I said, I'm using Windows 11 stuff, so my directory is a little bit different. So this would be the instructions right here. Go to local drive C, go to this PC. If we got into something a bit more complicated, let's go into, say, MSI. Now we're adding another one, so go into MSI, go to local, come out of MSI, go into M64. So then it opens up that one. So you're going to have to kind of go back and forth and stuff. And that's kind of going to be your directions. I mean, this is telling me exactly. So on this PC and local drive disks C, so in this room, room 101, or in this building, I should say, building 100, in room 101, you will find filing cabinet system or filing cabinets for M64. Um, but I keep all mine, my projects and stuff that I'm currently learning. I've got a few of them and stuff, and I probably will make new folders, new files, and all that sort of stuff for different projects. But I keep them in this one right here. So this is where my learning process started right here. And this didn't happen just shortly. I didn't realize I was going to have so much problems with everything else up until recently when I started learning how to do uh, C++. And the reason that is because when you get into, let's see here, let's do a quick screenshot. No, we'll just see if we can pull it up right here. So start backup. What is that? I don't know what it is. I know what the other things are when I'm coming to here. I know what this is. My PC, obviously, it's in my PC. It's in disk drive or hard drive or storage container, this one right here. And if I go to here, it's in this folder right here. If I go to here, it's in this folder right here, and this is a specific file. I know what that is. And which is why I keep them there. Like I said, I used to keep them on a desktop, so if it was the desktop, and I was going to something certain, let's say calculator here. First thing we got right there is OneDrive. We don't even have the C drive, the local disk drive. We don't have my PC. No, it's not in my PC. It's not in my storage drive. It's in OneDrive. What is OneDrive? Sorry again. I don't do a whole lot of talking, so um, what is OneDrive? And I really don't know the best way to explain it except for it's an off your computer, off your PC storage area. Best way I could describe it. So it's not even inside your PC. Um, yeah, so it's not even inside your PC. First off, that becomes a very big problem alone right there because your project or whatever you're working on is not even stored in your PC. It can also be a good thing too. So if something happens to your PC crashes or quits working or whatever, you don't actually have to necessarily worry about it being lost forever and stuff because of it being on the PC. And that's kind of good for like photos and stuff. But when it comes to this sort of stuff, no, it's not actually that great. It comes to pictures or documents or something that you kind of want to. It's more of a keepsake than more it is than a project. Yeah. The other issue I had with this was when I was trying to make files, I would constantly get errors because OneDrive would not allow it to make the application because it didn't trust it. Because OneDrive, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not 100% sure about this, OneDrive I believe is a Microsoft thing. And if it's not made by Microsoft, then this automatically doesn't trust it, and you have to get it to bypass that somehow. So I just went around that. I said, you know what? Let's just store it on the C drive here. We can manually do that. All these right here stored on the C drive. Everything else is above the C drive or that's not in the C drive is pretty much stored in OneDrive. And yes, I have tried removing OneDrive off my PC and found out how much of a mess it'll make when I do that. When I removed OneDrive off my PC, it pretty much removed just about everything off my computer. And it was a pain in the butt to try to get it all back. Because nowadays and stuff, when you go to save a file, you save a picture, you save a video. Um, if OneDrive, since OneDrive is not actually on my PC, if OneDrive gets hacked in some way or another, all that information right there and stuff becomes pretty much at the risk of whoever's hacking it or whatever's going on with it. And it may not even be a hack. I mean, we've seen or heard things being hacked before. Somebody gets into something and stuff, a bank, hospital, business records, whatever and stuff, and your information gets leaked out to somebody that can do pretty much whatever they want with it. Now, I know that Microsoft has a pretty good security system with them and stuff. I don't know exactly what it is, what it looks like, or anything like that. But if something were to ever happen to this right here, that's where your information is going to be. So this right here can tell you quite a bit. But unfortunately, when it comes to making projects and letting things do what they want to do, and they're not specifically from Microsoft or something, yeah. So when I was trying to have my programs built, OneDrive would sometimes stop them because it didn't recognize what was going on. It didn't realize that I was trying to create a file or whatnot. So we'll come back to this later on and stuff, but that's kind of an idea behind that and stuff. when you're making these projects, whether it be HTML, CSS, no matter what, store the projects not on an open source. Store them directly onto the C drive. So come directly to here. You want to make a new file. There's a new file button right here. Just click on it. New folder right there. Name it whatever you want. In fact, it's already got a name of a new folder, but we'll name it folder fun, just for the heck of it. We're going to use it anyways. Okay, so we got a new folder right there. Is there anything in it? No, absolutely not. Can we put something in here? Yes, we could put another folder in here. We can create a file in here. Actually, no, we can't. But we can put another folder in here if we want to, and have multiple folders in this. So let's get to that. Then I went ahead and created it and stuff, so let's get to that. So as I told you, and I'm going to just going to downsize this. As I told you, the editor that I currently have is VS Code. I'm going to downsize this so you guys can see this. This is the one I currently use. I know you can't see it really well, but yes, this is the one I currently use right here. Huge difference. So yes, Visual Studios actually uses a purple emblem, and it looks a lot the same as this one right here, except for it connects back here at the tail end or whatever you want to call that. Visual Studio Code does not, and it's blue. So purple to blue, but this is what I use. Okay, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to maximize this right here. It's not hard to download. In fact, we'll go ahead and pull that up real quick over here. Again, you don't have to go along with this one right here, but this is the one I started with and stuff, and it's the one I decided to go with. And there's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube on how to use it and stuff. I don't think the tutorials on YouTube really dive deep into how to use this, or it's just that new. I don't know. But I kind of would like to see some better information on it that where it does more. Let's see. So do not, again, get this confused because it's Visual Studio, so if I press enter, that won't work, but it's the next one down. So these are two different ones, again. Okay. And you open this up and you get this page right here. I'm sure you see probably hundreds of videos on YouTube and stuff when you're going to download whatever IDE for this and stuff. And obviously you can see it, you can tell what it runs on, really easy to get. And then it shows you even all the extensions it has for it. You can filter them out by different whatever. See all, and I've got quite a few of these extensions myself as well. And it even has the same thing for this. Now, can you notice something? I started off right here. Yeah, started off right here. And when I go to the extensions part, which is up here now, it switches over from Visual Studios Code to Visual Studios. Again, I don't know exactly what the difference is. I know Visual Studios has been around for a while. I don't know about Visual Studios Code. But the extensions all work the same. But there is two different separate areas for it. So you got one, the Visual Studios and the Visual Studios Code. And apparently these are two other ones maybe. Yeah, it looks like this one may be extensions for Azure DevOps and then subscriptions, I guess, to where you can get Visual Studios Professionals, Visual Studios Enterprise. I don't know what those are, but yeah, right now we're not really discussing that. We're just kind of getting into the start of this. But yes, this one right here is where I download it right here. And there are quite a few other things to it. In fact, let's see here. See the updates right there. Information about it, etc. So yeah, if you don't want to use Notepad, that's fine. You can use this one right here too. It is what I use. And the benefits to this over Notepad. So what is the difference? Let's first put them side by side. Very simple to do. We got this code right here. And yes, this is a file in that other. Yeah. This is a file, and in fact, if we wanted to search for this file right here, example HTML, so we created this through here. We did not create this through File Explorer. We are just kind of demonstrating something here. So let's go to Documents, and yes, it's right there. So this right here is actually in OneDrive. It's actually not stored on the PC itself. It's stored off the PC. Uh, I'm guessing either at a server or something like that. So this right here, if my PC was crashed and stuff, this would still exist, but it would exist somewhere else. I'd have to have another device come and go and find that specific file. I have no idea on how to do that either. Uh, Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so first off, something I want you guys to recognize is the fact that I keep saying I don't know. That's what this is about. I am learning still. For anybody else that is trying to figure out how to write code and stuff, I'm hoping they're learning off this too. Because, no, I didn't go to any kind of school for this stuff. Even if I did, I'm not sure that um, I wouldn't be in school right now and stuff, even if I did go to school to learn for this. But even if I did and stuff, I'm sure that I would have to still go about figuring out how to do all of this because some of this stuff probably didn't exist when I was in school. Also, to mention that I am not a very good school type of person. I cannot sit in a classroom for an hour or multiple hours listening to somebody give a lecture. The reason that is because I tend to fall asleep very easily. It's not because I get bored. It's not because I um, lose interest or anything like that. It's just because I have to be constantly moving around. I know I'm not the only one like that either. There is, besides just me, there's many people in the world and stuff that they just struggle to sit in a classroom and listen to somebody talk or read books or take tests or whatever. In fact, when I was in school and stuff, I remember there was one test I was supposed to take for English class, and as soon as I got in that classroom, I sat down to take a test, and 5 minutes into that class, I passed out. I was asleep. Slept through the entire test. I showed up in the classroom one time. I had plenty of sleep the night before. I think it was because of the class I came out of prior to that, and I don't know. So I know I failed the test. I pretty much failed that class, and shortly after I went ahead and got out of school and got my GED. School was, I mean, the education was important to me because I wanted to learn this stuff. Well, I didn't want to learn this sort of stuff, but at the time I wanted to learn other stuff. Um, but even now and stuff, if I wanted to learn this stuff, there's no way I'd be able to sit through class and learn this stuff. I'd fall asleep most of the time. In fact, sitting right here learning this stuff, I tend to fall asleep. It doesn't matter if I'm playing a video game, watching a video, or learning to write code or writing code itself. Or even watching TV because I got my TV right here in front of me as well. I will fall asleep sitting right here. I have to get up, move around every so often. Normally about every 15 minutes to a half hour. Sometimes I'm able to sit here for longer than that, but most of the time not. So this is kind of a better way for me to go about educating myself on this stuff. And there are a lot of sources that I use, and I will get to that stuff here in a little bit as far as educating myself. But right now, I'm just kind of this is the basic stuff. We use the analogy and stuff jumping into water or getting thrown into water to learn how to swim. Well, I mean, in the process of getting thrown into water or jumping into water, you either one, you start to bend your legs, you just jump up in the air, or you're running and jumping into the water, somebody's throwing you into the water or whatever and stuff. It's multiple different ways of even getting into the water. This kind of has the same direction to it. There's multiple different ways of getting into this. So, Notepad here, it saved, when I saved it and stuff, it got saved to the OneDrive. Now, when I save this, could I have saved it somewhere else? Well, let's see. I can look into that real quick. Save as. So already the directory file is under this one right here in documents. Can I change it? Yes. I can go down here to my PC, make this wider, click on that and stuff and change it to here. And then yes, it would get changed, but you have to pay attention to where it's being saved at personally, which is something anybody should know about. When you go to save something on, whether it's a phone or a computer, it depends on its purpose. This particular type of file right here actually should not get saved onto the OneDrive, and the reason that is because, and I'm going to show you real quick before I get any farther into this. Let's go ahead and close that out real quick. I'm going to downsize this. We're going to go ahead and get started with something here. Close that out. I'm going to go to open up that file I had down here. What did I call it? Folder fun. Yes, that's what I called it. Let's go back one. I'll just select that folder. Do you trust it? Yes, I trust it because I made it. And close the AI chat box there. We're going to downsize this. Now we got our full thing here. Now, oops. Oh, yeah. I got the folder open. I don't have a file in there. So let's create a new file. Just going to call it fun. And like I said, I'm learning C++ right now. So we're going to go ahead and go with C++. .cpp. And yes, it's, I mean, if you want it to be a C++ file, it has to be .cpp. Just like HTML has to be a .html. CSS has to be a .css. Python, I believe, has to be a .py, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the folder right here. This right here is the folder. Let's go ahead and zoom that in so you can see that a little bit better. I'm trying to watch the video. So, okay. So this is the folder right here, the folder fun. This will be the file right here. I'm going to go and switch it. It's not going to be run. It's going to be fun. There we go. Fun CPP. Okay, so we got the folder, we got this, and we know exactly where this is right now. Just because we created ourselves. Sorry. I don't do a whole lot of talking, and since I don't do a whole lot of talking, when I do start talking, my throat gets messed up. So I'm trying to dry out my throat a little bit. It's just something that happens to you when you get older, I guess. Okay, so I've created it right there. A specific instruction right here. So once you create the file, why is it not saved? I've clicked it, I've done it and stuff. What would you do next? Natural instinct for me and stuff would be to hit the enter key. Is there another option besides the enter key? I don't know. I guess I could have gone into the folder itself. This one right here. And maybe created a file. Show more options. New. Nope. It doesn't look like I could create the file directly in the folder itself. I can create a text document, but that's not what we want. So it does not look like we can create a new file directly in the folder this way right here. We have other options. We can do this right here, but it doesn't look like we can create the file right there. So let's downsize this and stuff again. So since I've off-clicked this and stuff, it did save it like that. So we're going to downsize this. This is right here, just kind of widens that and shrinks it and stuff. You just kind of notice we can go and do the same thing here too. Max this out right here and have the full screen right there. Now, I don't know exactly how everything runs on VS Code. I've learned quite a bit and stuff, like so what some of these buttons do, but I haven't learned it all yet. And like I said, the tutorials don't really explain it all. They do explain it if you are building. I'm going to go and create another folder. Yeah. New folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. This one's going to be called HTML folder. HTML. Why not? Select that folder right there. Again, yes, I trust. I'm going to close this up and close that out. Create a file right here. Fun.html. Okay, so the tutorials go through this right here on how to create an HTML, but HTML is pretty simple, especially once you first learn it. And honestly, if you want to get used to writing code and stuff, I would suggest learning a little bit about HTML first, because that'll kind of give you the idea of how this works. And it's very easy. But it does go through how to do this sort of stuff really easily. And maybe that's what VS Code was more intended for, was for HTML more than it was C++. Maybe that's where I'm having my struggles. But here's one great thing about this. So VS Code, where Notepad did not do this, I had to type everything out myself. I mean, you've seen in my last video everything I want to do and stuff. In fact, it's not even all typed out yet. There's still more to an HTML document than just that right there. I start typing in this. Put that right there first. This is the first thing that comes up. Suggestions. Yeah, so you can take your hands off the keyboard and stuff and that'll stay up there. Suggestions. Notepad does not give suggestions. It's bare bones. It's the smallest, simplest type of IDE there is. It doesn't have anything involved with it. So that makes VS Code or any other text editor bigger in that size, because there has to be code in there to get this created right here. Notepad does not have that. So as far as size, if you are concerned about how big something is and stuff, because you're using an older computer that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of storage space to it, storage not being memory, RAM would be memory, storage would be hard drive, or whatever storage kind of system you're using. If you don't have a whole lot of space and stuff and you plan on making a bunch of projects and stuff, then this right here may not be the best option. You may have to go the longer route where you have to type more stuff out. Remembering how to do it and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully people don't have that small of a storage space. Hopefully you have at least 500 gigabytes at least. I think this little old laptop of mine that I have, I think it has 500 gigabytes. And yes, I'm referring to gigabytes and stuff because that's kind of small. Because nowadays and stuff, most of your computers come with anywhere between 1 and 5 terabytes of storage space. At least the newer ones do. The older computers don't. So yes, you can still do this on an older computer and stuff. And there's not that much of a difference. So let's go ahead and create a simple file right here and see what the difference is. So yes, we create that right there. We type enter. And we got that part right there. So let's keep going here. There used to be something that would automatically create the entire header for this, but I don't remember what it is. But HTML. Didn't do it. How surprising. Go down and then shift body. Here's another thing. Another major thing you can kind of tell right here. This is all black and white. In fact, the background is white, which is kind of harsh on the eyes, especially if you're having to stare at it for hours. It can give you a headache. The other one's black. I don't think you can change this to black. You might be able to, yeah. Dark. Yeah. See, we're learning something new here. So yeah, I guess you can. And obviously in this right here, we can zoom in on it as well. It's the same command to zoom in on it, but it doesn't have all that color in there. You might be able to get some color into it because it looks like Notepad has been updated a little bit and stuff, so it may be getting a little bit easier to use. Obviously, and also and stuff, this is another Microsoft product and stuff as well. So both of these are Microsoft products. So they may be doing some updates to Notepad to make it a little bit more usable and friendly, like VS Code is. Because I mean, Notepad is on most computers to start with. If you buy any kind of computer and it has Windows operating system on it, it's most definitely going to have Notepad with it. And I don't recall having these settings in there before. So this may be something new. We got different fonts right here. I got the family, different font sizes or types. Yep. I don't recall all this being in there. It may have been in there before. I just haven't used it in a long time, so it may be all new. I don't know. Interesting. I don't mind using Notepad myself. It's a little bit more work as far as the file system is concerned because um, when it comes to the file system for this and stuff, boom, right there, there's my file system. This right here, no, there's not my file system. Plus, it saved it in the wrong place because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. And if I want the file system, I got to open this up right here and then find the document itself, which just so happened to be able to find it right there. It's not in its own folder and stuff where this one I have it in its own folder. Yes, I had to create the folder myself, so this one I have to create the folder. But I could easily do that here too. So let's go ahead and create a new folder for this, and we'll just call this one, and didn't give me a spot to create it. Folder, yep. Let's go ahead and call it Notepad folder. So there's another answer to your question right there. If you are wondering, can you move it out of OneDrive and onto your storage? And yes, you can. Simple way of doing that is downsize this. Let's downsize that. We got this right here. We open up the documents. We take this little thing right here, drag it over to our desktop, and now that's where the file is sitting right now. Not anymore right here. Come over to this, change this, find the notepad. Where'd I put it? There it is right there. Open that up. Take this, drag it over here to the notepad and drop it in there. And now this right here is simply in a different spot. Now you're gonna have to get rid of this right here. You're gonna actually have to physically delete it because it's still saved on the OneDrive. You just made a copy of it and put it over here, right there. If you want to leave it there, you can, but yes, it was saved on the OneDrive, so it was still on the OneDrive. You empty that out, and now it's only saved in the C drive. Sorry. Also, you notice that I'm discovering this stuff. Guess what? That is kind of part of. Let's see, now it can't find it. Okay, so we'll come back to this here in just a second. I'll hit OK and come back to this in just a second because that's going to be something to play with now. And it doesn't matter which one we open up. Okay, so now it can't find it. So now, what do we do now? Well, this is simple. We take this, we close this out, and come back to our files. Since it can't find it and it didn't automatically open it, we right-click on it. You can highlight it, right-click on it. Make sure it's highlighted too first. If you just right-click on it, it may not work. Highlight it first, right-click it, and then edit in Notepad right there. And there's that option right there to open it up in. Yes, we were looking for that in the last video and stuff. We couldn't find it, but yes, edit in Notepad. Boom, right there. There's Notepad again. Let's downsize this, bring this over to here. And there it is. So now we got it back up here. That's kind of how we're playing with this, how we're learning to do this sort of stuff. Not all this stuff I knew before I started this video. A lot of it I did know before I started this video, but I'm also learning as I go. But continuously doing this stuff over and over, repetitively or repeatedly, can help to get that mental memory going for yourself. I know that if I do something once and stuff, I may not have it memorized. I may not remember how to do it again 5 minutes later. That's kind of the same idea. Walk into a gas station or grocery store and stuff. You meet somebody, say, hello, my name is such and such. They say their name and stuff. You may even repeat the name back to them, whatnot and stuff. 5 minutes later, you get out to the car and you have no idea what that person's name was again. It may come to you later on and stuff, but as of right now and stuff, you've completely forgot that. You may have even forgot you even had a conversation with that person because you may be talking about something completely different at this point in time. So, repeatedly doing the same thing over and over helps to build a memory of it. Now, are these two different? Yes, these are two different. For one, they're two different files. They are both HTML files, but they are two different files. This one doesn't even have all the information, and neither does this one and stuff because there's a lot more information involved than just this right here. But we can use both files. Now, I have not tried creating a C++ file in Notepad yet. I know how much more difficult that might be, especially since Notepad actually does not exist on OneDrive. Does it? I don't know. No, I don't think it does. I'm pretty sure that Notepad and VS Code both exist on the C drive here because you download them. It's probably going to be under Windows right here, the Windows folder. Yeah, it's probably going to be in here somewhere. There's a lot of files right here, and this normally is where everything should be kept. So when you download something, most of the time it's right here. There's an occasional time where it's not, but most of the time all your stuff that you download is sitting right here in your C drive. If it wasn't in your C drive, then we'd have to go through OneDrive to get it, and it's not a document you're saving. It's a document you're downloading. So therefore, it needs to go into your PC so you have more access to it. So when it's something you are creating yourself or you are saving from another device, yes, it may get downloaded to OneDrive over your PC. And I think that's one thing that people need to realize and stuff is that OneDrive does exist. In fact, here, I'm going to open up this down here. I'm going to move my picture of me over here to the other side so you can see this real quick. Transition. Down here at the bottom right, this little arrow right here. And it shows exactly what all is open. It doesn't show OneDrive though right there, but the OneDrive is right next to it. OneDrive, personal, backup, and synced. That way, the backup and synced and stuff. Microsoft created that and stuff so you can actually have access to anything at all on anything you use. So if you do end up taking a picture with your phone and you want to put it onto your computer and maybe transfer it to uh, a picture frame or something like that, something else and stuff, you don't even have to hook up your phone to your PC to do that. If you've saved it on your phone, most likely it's been saved onto OneDrive. If it's not, you can download OneDrive, save it onto OneDrive, pull it back up on this right here. How you would do that, I don't know because I don't mess with OneDrive. I don't. Other people may, I don't. I don't really take pictures with my phone. In fact, this is pretty much the only use I have for my phone is this right here and making phone calls with it. But yes, if you know how to save it to OneDrive on your phone, you probably can figure out easily how to pull it up on your PC, put it up on your PC, and then you can move around wherever you want or do whatever you want with it at that point in time. Anyways, we're kind of getting off topic here. We're supposed to be discussing how I learned to go about writing code, and we kind of are still. I learned it right here first. This took, I bet it wasn't 6 months. It probably took me a good 6 months after I first started writing code to figure out to do it right here because there was no tutorials on this. There was no videos on this. I couldn't find anybody to tell me how to do this right here. Well, one person, I think, finally. But it took a long time. I couldn't even get, you pull this open right here, AI. I could not even get AI to tell me how to do this. And yes, I know it's got my name in there, but yeah. So, how do I wouldn't even know what to say because I know your wording has to be very specific with that, and it's not 100% accurate. So, and the reason it's not 100% accurate is because you have to be so detailed with the question you ask. It's unreal. So detailed with the question you ask for AI to basically give you what you're looking for, give you the information you're looking for. Because that's actually quite a few questions, actually. How do I create code on my computer? I mean, for a beginner and stuff, that may be the first question they ask. How do I create code on my computer? What do I use? What do I do here? Well, I'm kind of just telling you how you do that. Um, like I said, as far as the Notepad or the VS Code, both considered IDEs, are concerned, do your homework. Find out which one is going to be suited best for you and stuff. Because, like I said, um, I'm going to shrink that back down. I'm going to go ahead and go back to. I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick and switch back over to the other folder. Open folder. Uh, this one right here. Because one thing I had problems with. Let's see here. I know this probably doesn't make any sense to you, especially if you're new to it and stuff, as far as what this code actually is. I've probably spent about 2 months now, maybe longer than that, learning just to do this simple stuff right here, getting it memorized and all that sort of thing, finding out what each one of these symbols stand for. Okay, so we know with HTML, this right here, if we want to see this outside of this right here, basically see this content right here, this is the only part of it we want to see. We can't do it right here. It's not possible. Yeah, it might be possible, I guess. I don't know how to do it though. But if we want to see it, we need to go find the folder first, which was Notepad. Open that folder up, click on it, then right click on it, then open with this right here, and there it is right there. Again, this is not a website. If you type this in and stuff, it's not going to give you anything because this is actually on my computer and not being shared through the web. So you couldn't find this. There's no actual domain for it. In fact, it doesn't even have the www at the end of it. It has HTML. You try typing .html in a web server and stuff, and it's gonna. I don't know what's gonna do. I've never tried it, never done it. Don't need to. Even though it is sitting with these other websites, this is what's pretty much kind of considered an empty server. I guess you would say my computer is kind of being a temporary server. I guess that's how it would work. You'd have to ask somebody who knows more about this than what I do. I'm still learning, obviously. But I'm guessing my computer's acting as a temporary server and giving me space to put this. And yes, this is all black and I can go in and manually change it. I can also go in and go into here and stuff and make some edits in here. I do kind of remember this style. I think it is equals color. How about black? I think. I'm trying to remember how to do HTML, sorry. It's been a while. And we can't save it the same way I did before. We just have to click save. And it doesn't come up like that right here. But if I, nope, I may have not done it right. Or I may have just made the text black right there. Color. Let's try background color. Background. Let's see what it does with that right there. Save. Refresh this. Nope, nothing. Okay. So, yeah, it's not going to work that way. That's fine. I could play around with this all day long, but if you, I mean, I obviously I don't remember how to do styling, which is what this is right here. What this line of code is right here. I don't remember how to do it. I haven't used it in forever. It wouldn't take much and stuff because I do know that CSS and HTML are two easier ones to learn how to do. These two right here are two easier ones to learn how to do. Where what I'm currently learning now with this right here is not as easy. So we've got this, and we can't open, this is not going to appear up the same way it would appear on there. In fact, even if we try to get this to run, I can go into the files the same way, go back, find this is the fun folder, right? Yep. Remind myself what folder that's in. Go into there. We can highlight this and then right click it and then open. There's not an option to open it. Send to, no. The only way I know how to get this to run is to double click on it. And guess what? It did just run, but it closed right away because C++ does not work the same way as HTML. If I wanted to stay open longer than that, and this is something I learned from a YouTube video, a great person that was one of my sources for learning how to do this stuff. I will show you what his site is here in a minute. Stuff. Let's see. CS. Get no. Oops. It is .get. And then actually, I think you just leave it open right there. Yep. And save. Now, if I do the same thing, double click this. Nope, it still didn't open up the way I was expecting it to. Okay. The reason it's not actually opening up like it's supposed to is because I don't have the exe file. I'm actually trying to open up the file, not the actual application. And that's another point of what I'm trying to make here and stuff. HTML, you're going to understand it because you can open it up a lot easier. C++, you can't open it up as easy. So, here's the problem you have with OneDrive at this point in time. When you go to try to run a C++ file, and you have it saved to your OneDrive, and you got to do this part right here is easy. Most of the time you won't even use this on HTML. This right here is something that's not an HTML sort of thing because you don't run this on HTML. You just open it up on a server to see what it looks like. That's where different code languages, all these different code languages work differently. So one has one way of working, another has another way of working. And yes, you can mix them together and get them to work with each other, but you got to know how to. I don't. I'm learning. I'm trying. Failure is a part of that. If you remember a lot of the stuff that we have now and stuff that was made a long time ago, 75 years ago, whatever, a light bulb failed 1,000 different times and stuff to try to make a light bulb. All I needed was one way to get it to work, but I guarantee you after 5 or 6 times of trying to get it to work and stuff, when it failed, he was ready to give up on it. You know, persistency and knowing that you can do it will eventually get you there. Because I guarantee there's not a whole lot of people today that would try to do something 1,000 times over just to get it to work. I don't know anybody myself. I am working on it, and I am failing. Probably failed couple hundred times by now. I haven't done it 1,000 times yet, but I'm sure there are other things and stuff that people have failed on more than once. But here's a good example of what people might constantly be trying to do right now that they may be failing at all the time. In fact, they probably do on a daily basis. Make sure that they have enough money for food, rent, clothing, shelter, etc. We do it on a daily basis, week after week, month after month, year after year. So yeah, that's something right there you can consider yourself doing more than 1,000 times. And you may be failing sometimes and you may be succeeding other times. So yeah, he's not the only one that did it. You're doing it more than what he did. You may end up doing less, just depending on the situation, what happens to you. But by the way, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, please feel free to ask. I may not be able to have the answer and stuff, but there's also questions that I have that I've not gotten the answer to that I'm still looking for sources on information for, which is what we're going to go to next here in just a second. So when it comes to C++, what's the difference between debug C++ file, run code, and run C++ file? This one took me a little bit to figure out, and uh, 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 Visual Studios may work the same way as these, just maybe have them named different, maybe a little bit different mechanics to them. Debug is actually going to, in fact, I'm not going to even try to explain that one. We're going to go over here. We're just going to debug it. I guess we'll just click on, yep, that's the one we want. G++ is the one we always use. And there, you can see it's running, and it's running the entire thing. Now, this right here is a lot. A lot of information, and I don't understand all this. Let's see here. Thread group added ID I1 GU GNU GDB. Nope, don't understand that. Copyright 2025 Free Software Foundation Inc. License version 3 late HTTP license HTML. This is free software. You are free to change and redistribute it. There is no warranty to, yep, we're going through some. So this sounds more like the terms of agreement for the debugging program that I used. Type help, or for help, type help. Type Apros word to search for command related or word. I don't know what any of that means. Warning, debuggy, target architecture not detected, assume. Now see, if I was to do this same thing with this file saved into OneDrive, I would get so many errors. Well, actually, no, I just get one primary error and it wouldn't even do it, period. Because OneDrive will not allow a file that I just created in OneDrive to be debugged. Because like I said, that file wouldn't actually be on my PC, it would be in OneDrive. And it would not allow me to go through and use a debugger to go through and debug and compile through OneDrive. So that right there again is another issue. So that's why when it comes to creating projects or whatnot, even HTML files, you're best off to save it to your own hard drive. Something I was not taught, shown, or anything. I had to find out the hard way doing this same process that I'm doing right here. I don't know what half this stuff means, except for it's loading symbols. So it could be simply telling me that it's loading this symbol right here, symbols loaded. So it's loading this right here to debug this. It's loading this right here to debug this. So it may be running a few of these libraries right here, which these may be a part of this library right here. I know we haven't discussed libraries yet, and that's another complicated subject right now because I'm still trying to learn the libraries. There's a lot of them. So this all right here may be things it's trying to run, load to decipher what all this is. and I didn't even print it out, which I didn't expect it to, but that was fine. I just want to kind of show you what the debug was. We're going to close this down. We're going to clear the console there and exit that. So that's the debug process. Basically, if I were to hit this right here, it's the same thing as this over here. So I can run it again, I guess, and stuff. That's pretty much what the one means right there. Now, here's the run code type situation for this. Also, when I ran a debug, I got this right here, which I'll show you that here in a minute. So now it's not just fun CPP, it's also fun EXE. Now run the code right here, and we get cannot open file, cannot open output file, fun EXE, permission denied. Okay, so we're having an issue right there. Because it's still running the debugger, that's why. Because the debugger never stopped. So let's close all this up right here. Run that again. And that's why, because the debugger was still running. That's what that was all about. It was, I thought it was over here and stuff, but no, it was over here. So let's see that again real quick. If we run this again, I was expecting it to be right here, but it's right here. This is what I was actually looking for right here. There should be a way to move this. There we go, right there. That's it. This right here can be moved around on the top right here. This is in VS Code. I don't know if it's in any others or not, but this can be moved around right here. And this right here allows us to go through and control what the runner is doing. So while this is still running, and yes, it is still running, until I hit the stop button right here, it is still debugging it. And it's going to continue to do it and stuff until I hit the stop button. But this time it did print something out because this right here exists. So let's go ahead and hit the stop button to get it to stop. Let's go ahead and clear this out right here. Run this again, and we get the result 10, because that's what we're printing up. Now, before we couldn't get anything to print up as far as showing up on the screen itself. So now if we go to, we got the folder VS Code right here in this particular spot. This is also still in the fun folder right here. We got this code right, we got this folder right here, which is a completely different separate folder. When you go to do a debug, it appears there because it's pretty much the debugger for it, I think. I don't know. But since I can't find anybody that runs C++ and VS Code that doesn't do a simple tutorial on this, the simple tutorial is basically just going through and type this in, run the code, there, it's working now. Oh, well, that doesn't do much for me. That's pretty much the same thing as here. Let's just go ahead and open this up, run it right here. Type out all our code right there and run it right there. What are we doing? I don't know. I have no clue. Can you please elaborate? But they don't. I'm trying to. I just don't know enough about it. So if you have any questions, comments you want to make, please feel free to. I could use a lot of answers. So we can run this. We can get a result down here in the terminal. This was the next thing that took me forever to figure out how to do. How do I get an actual window to open up? I mean, because is that all we're doing is just running this on a terminal? I don't. What is this? What is a terminal, anyways? Is that like the command prompt? I was asking that question for a long time. I couldn't find an answer. It took me a while to figure it out. So if we want to see that, and I don't know if I just stumbled on it or not. So this is the file right here that we're using, this right here. This is why I say it takes up some space. Okay, this is the actual application right here. I know you can't see it very well, I'm sorry. Let me maximize this and see if I can't zoom in on this. Nope, I cannot zoom in on that. Nope, I can't, nope. View. I might be able to make it bigger, but okay, so the first one on top is the actual source code. The source code being that right there. The next one down is what we use to debug, which was part of VS Code. It is a JSON files, which there's a lot more to go into that, so I'm not going to even get into that folder right there. What you probably primarily need to know and stuff is that I've seen this, and I was trying to figure out how to get an actual window to open up. This is how you would do it. You would find the actual application for the file you just created, which is the exe folder. So we go back into here. Instead, I would show you this here in a minute. I did. So fun.exe. That's the application. This is the source. That's the application itself. So we go back to here. The source being the .cpp. In fact, nope, it doesn't say right there. This is the application, which is the exe. So if we double click on this, here's our window right here. Oops, didn't mean to. Here's our window right here, and it shows it right there. Now this window would still pop open and close back up if I did not find out about the std : cin dot get parentheses command, which I accidentally stumbled upon. So as soon as I hit enter, that window closes up, or you can just exit out the other way. But it only exits it out when I hit enter because of this bottom line of code right here. This right here is the only reason why it does that. It's the only reason why it stays open and it closes when I hit enter. So that's a different language right there altogether. So now you kind of got a feel for HTML. I haven't done anything with CSS. It's just styling. I'm not going to do anything with that. JavaScript the same way. Python, yes, I have it on VS Code. I could also use it on Notepad too. But I'm not going to right now. But yes, I mean, you just simply look at this. Again, this is just, if you want the full understanding of HTML, not just this right here, because this is not all of it, you're going to have to find another source for HTML. Let's see here. Where can I find all the information on writing HTML code? Anybody should be able to do this and stuff because AI is pretty much on everything now. So this right here, it does say that W3 Schools is the easiest, most visual, beginner-friendly one, and yes, I will agree that's true. It does not mention the one we mentioned before and stuff, the freecodecamp.com or .org and stuff. That I would say is a great exercise place. Think of this as like you want to. There's always multiple sides to everything. Okay, you see the outside of somebody's house, how it looks. Grass is tall, grass is cut, grass is clean, grass has a bunch of weeds in it, bunch of cars in the yard, bunch of cars in the driveway, etc., etc., etc. The house looks like crap, the house looks great, whatnot. That's one side of it. You look inside and stuff, and it looks completely different. The house on the inside looks great, or it looks terrible, or it's got holes in the wall, or water, or whatever. I mean, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So how would you clean all that up? Well, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you can clean that up. Well, this is kind of the same way. So if you want to see it all, see the underlining part of everything, basically the inside of the house, W3 Schools is the best place to begin. If you want to work on it all and get the exercise for it, get the credit for it, Free Code Camp may be a good starting spot, or use both of them. I did. Let's see, we've got MDN Web Docs, the official most accurate HTML documentation. I've never looked into that and stuff, but that's another option and stuff. You can go there and see if that has a lot more information than what W3 Schools has, and like bunches of more information what um, Free Code Camp has. Let's see, we have Geeks for Geeks, huge A through Z HTML encyclopedia. That looks like it would be very helpful. It does mention Free Code Camp right there. WikiHow. So there's 5 different sources right there. And I will say 2 of them work. I've never looked at the other 3. But this one right here, Free Code Camp, not going to have everything in it. It has real examples, beginner friendly. It doesn't have everything. So, I mean, you're going to get to a certain point once you get through all that stuff. You're going to go find you another source and stuff to continue your education and learn more about it. W3 Schools, very beginner friendly, easy, most visual. Does it have everything that HTML has in it? Can it teach you everything about HTML? Probably not. And I found this out because there's a lot of information on C++ that that this right here does. I mean, this right here is just barely scratching the surface on C++. You go through and you read all this information right through. In fact, you read all this information right through here, all the way down to the bottom on C++, and you are still just barely scratching the surface of C++. It's how big C++ is. Mainly because of how old C++ is. HTML is not nearly as old as C++, and that's because C++ is what builds our programs. Programs that date back to when computers first started. Now, it wasn't originally called C++. In fact, I looked up the history on it and stuff. Originally, it started off as B. Then I think it migrated to C and then C++. And is C# better? No. In fact, I found out that C++ is the original. C# is more of a Microsoft version of it. But I don't know because I've never gotten into C#, so don't quote me on that. Maybe somebody can leave a comment on the difference between C++, C#, and C. C is still used. I mean, you cannot actually have C# or C++ without C. A lot of the stuff in C is not used anymore, but a lot of the stuff still is. So it's kind of got to stick around in order for C++ and C# to work. Otherwise, I think you'll probably have to completely be rewritten. Better sources that I've found for C++. Again, I use the same method. I went through here and was asking questions. If you don't get the response you're looking for on the first question you ask, try to write the question a different way or try to be more detailed with your question in AI to get a better response and then look it at it yourself. AI can be kind of, I would say AI is more of kind of a guide on how you can find the stuff you're looking for. And I can promise you it probably will not give you all the answers 100% because it depends on your question. And if your question is not defined enough or not detailed enough, then your answer kind of like how I don't know if anybody remembers how genies work. Aladdin, genies, sort of thing. Supposed to be tricksters. Well, if you don't make your wish in a very specific worded manner, you're probably not going to get what you're looking for. And there's so many ways and stuff to manipulate the words that come out of your mouth, it's not even funny. So even if you were to be very detailed, you're probably still not going to get exactly what you were looking for. So my next source. What is my next source for? I'll just leave it there. It's fine. Next source that I found was, where is it? I think, yep, this right here. I believe this is the creator of C++. And I really don't know how to navigate this website at all. I've not gotten into this a lot and stuff. I know it exists. I know if you want to know anything about C++, this is where you can find it pretty much. I went to the Get Started button right here and just kind of clicked on the first thing that came to mind and stuff. I mean, I don't even know if this stuff was in here yet. I'm not sure it was. Just kind of clicked on the first thing right here, take a tour right there, clicked on that. Basics Part 1. And I started reading. And parts of this right here just kind of felt like a foreign language to me when I was reading it. Didn't know a whole lot about C++ when I first started. And I do know a little bit more, but there's still some of these code like local max. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Actually, yes, I do know what that is. Because the constant, the double's another keyword, the constant's a keyword. Local max is actually just the variable in this situation right here. So yes, I do know what that means now. But I did try to read through a lot of this book right here. Well, I won't go any further than that. I think it used to go a lot farther than that, but I'm not sure. Ah, I'm all the way at the bottom somehow or another. Maybe because that's where I left off at, maybe last time. I don't know. But yeah, I went through and read quite a bit of that and stuff. Did it make sense to me? Not really. No. I struggled with that one. I fell asleep quite a few times. And when I mean quite a few times, I'd read about 15, 20 minutes. I'd be sitting there dozing off. Huh? Huh? Crap. Okay, I gotta get up, stretch my legs, do something, wake back up, come back in here 15 minutes later after I start reading. Son of a bitch. This ain't working. I need another method. Come on. You need to find something else. I don't understand what I'm reading here. I don't know what this is going on about. I know this video is going on for a while and stuff. That's fine. If you want to zip through this video and stuff, find out what you're looking for. That's perfectly fine by me. I'm just enjoying making the video myself, so kind of taking you through my journey of learning this stuff. So let's scratch this idea because that didn't work out too well for me, and this didn't have all the information. I'm also getting kind of hot too, so the video is going to be stopping here in a minute, and I'll come back to it here in a little bit. So let's see. Let's see what this one shows. Okay, so I don't recognize this at all. I'm not even sure what this is. Let's assume that that's not it. I got some tabs here that I'm not sure about. Let's get into, so AI pointed me towards this right here. And click on this top thing. This right here, C++ reference. It's supposed to contain every single detail of C++ in it. How what every single keyword is, what every single symbol is. And I will tell you right now, there is a lot of information here. Okay, a lot. In fact, if we just start with something simple like the keywords, something I spent literally a week studying, and I never got through all of them yet. I think there's almost 100 keywords right here. Each one of these is a keyword, a linus, a line of, and, and also has a symbol to it, not just a word. And EQ also has a symbol to it, not just a word. ASM, if I'm not mistaken, I think ASM, atomic cancel, atomic commit, atomic no exempt, all deal with assembly language. Which has to do with actually something completely other than really just doing C++. I asked AI and stuff, can C++ make graphics? And no, it can't, not by itself, but yes, it can with a little bit of help. I can't personally answer that question for you and stuff. I'm pretty sure that assembly language kind of has something to do with that, but again, I don't know. Learning still. Auto, I kind of know what that one is. I have an understanding that auto kind of just, yeah, it's a tough one to explain. So, but yes, these are the keywords. The idea is these are the keywords right here. So this is just the keywords. I mean, you get down here a little farther and stuff, and it has different meanings for some of the keywords and stuff. The symbols for some of the keywords, more keywords and stuff that have different. Oh my gosh, it just keeps going and going, and it's just page one of 1,000 pages. We were to go back and click on another one, names. Declarations, zombie identifiers, and expressions, types, and yeah. So, um, I looked at this and I was like, wow. I've come to find out that honestly, learning C++, so HTML I say is simpler. HTML, the difference between HTML would be HTML, learning about it would be the same thing as going through a neighborhood and stuff and counting all the houses in a neighborhood. It'd be tough, it'd be hard, but it's not impossible. It's not overwhelming, depending on the size of the neighborhood, especially. It might be tougher in some neighborhoods, might be easier in other neighborhoods. Now, the difference between this and C++, C++ is like going through your yard, especially if you have a 1-acre yard. And I want to ask you to count every blade of grass in your yard and tell me how many blades of grass are in your yard. That's where the impossibility comes in play. That's where it gets overwhelming. I did not realize this when I started it, but that was fine. There's a lot to learn, which means it has a vast opportunity to it. And if you're somebody like me, I'm enjoying learning right now, especially something like this. Um, I have a wild imagination, a high level of creativity, and I used to work on cars. And I used to use that imagination and creativity and stuff to help me fix the cars. But fixing cars was very limited with the creation and the imagination. It's where I picked up the guitar and started learning how to do that and stuff. And I can get very creative with that. That's where I can, if I want to let my imagination, creativity go, I just pick it up, start playing it and stuff, and sit there and listen to it and have some fun with it. This right here, there is no limit to my imagination, creativity with this. If I want to take 15,000 blades of grass and create something with it, I literally can create whatever I want with it. And that's pretty much what C++ is all about. Once you get to where you can start understanding it and start knowing it and stuff, yes, you can create literally thousands of different things. And I've just shown you a small thing with this code right here, a very small piece. This right here, just one blade of grass. That's all it is. One blade of grass. Okay. For example, let's look at two blades of grass here. Uh, um, and yes, even though I'm writing this out right here, you may not understand what this is I'm putting on here. Whether you do or you don't, most people that understand C++ will probably understand what this is. Actually, kind of want that to go away. Thank you. But people that understand C++ and stuff will know what this is. Pretty much simple. People that don't, this is kind of something foreign to you. Pretty much all I'm doing is I am writing a program. Yes, I am writing a program. A very simple program. Um, the first statement right here is pretty much int stands for integer. There is actually a full-blown definition of what an integer is in this right here. In this huge, vast category of stuff. Yes, it does explain what an integer is. In fact, no, it's not under keyword. It's going to be under type probably. Type classifications. Void. Nope. 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 Type boolean. Nope. Integer. Right there it is. Right there. Also see. Nope. Never mind. Char. Nope. We're looking for it. Like I said, there's a lot in here. Integer right there. Standard signed integers types. Okay, so there's an integer right there. That's the standard type right there. So, yeah. Okay, so pretty much I'm declaring an integer. The variable is going to be x. Yes, I know you probably don't fully understand all this. That is not an equal sign. That is actually represented as is 10. Not equals 10. Is 10. Let me get to something that kind of explains that a little bit more, because like I said, we're going to get into some really deep stuff here. A better area where I found some information that I can kind of read and understand this better was this right here. Learn C. This is learncpp.com. Okay. Very easy to navigate through. In fact, this right here shows a lot more information. Not as much as what the reference does, the C++ reference does. But it shows so much information. There is literally, and this is constantly being updated, by the way, and I know this took a lot of work. Literally 28 chapters plus on C++. Now you tell me, does this look like it contains 28 chapters worth of information? And so I asked, simply put this question in, AI, does W3 schools teach everything for C++ code? Short version, no. And I would take that for truth. It does not teach everything you need to know about real C++ development. It will get you started. And like I said, you want to start, I would start here. I would not jump directly into this right here. I would not jump directly into this. If you are a beginner trying to learn how to write C++, I would not jump into this. Start with this over here. Get yourself an IED. The hard part is going to be getting something like this code right here to actually work. Because yes, I can take this code right here. It's a very simple hello type of thing. Run it in this. Here, I'll clear this out right here real quick. In fact, we'll write it out just the way that they have it. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is yeah, nope. Let me get rid of a bunch of this stuff because they added a bunch of stuff in there for me I don't want. Okay. And yes, I'm not the fastest typer actually. I think it does this right here. For some reason, I don't know why it switched to that, but it did. Okay. Next part of that was output and return. Now, something simple that I will tell you that okay, so we got this right here. All we can literally do with this, I mean, we can debug it, but I mean, the simplest thing that we can do with this is this right here, and it shows up down here. Okay, I could literally make a 5-second video to show you that that does that. That's a program, yeah. Does it do anything? No, it just prints this right here. Does it print it onto an actual terminal? Well, let's see here. If we run this right here, nope. Nope. You can see the window trying to open up, but it's not doing. Why isn't it staying open? And I can tell you right now that most likely this will not explain any of that. All you're looking for when you're doing this is you are looking for this right here response down here. You're not looking for an actual window to open up yet. You haven't gotten that far. And I'm probably way advanced because I get into looking for so much stuff. I've been literally spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day reading and writing code, trying to understand things. If I don't understand things or if I get bored of the reading and writing and stuff, I may switch over to a video. And the downside about all of this, excuse me, even when I'm reading and writing and doing all this stuff, I tend to forget. For example, I cannot quite remember how to put multiple files together. So even though I'm learning this, learning that, I mean, it's just so big, so big. Too much, overwhelming. So don't let it overwhelm you. Start small. Start with this right here. Start with this, just go through this. Practice it a couple times. Once you get through it, move on to the next thing. Move on to this right here then. Once you move on to this and stuff, once you start reading through this, you're going to start being like, oh my gosh, I already know about all this. And they do have examples in this too. Like there's an example right there. And it's going to explain a lot more stuff. I mean, this is just chapter 0, and there's questions here. For example, what is a statement? What is a statement? A statement is a type variable. I was trying to remember exactly. Instead of getting it wrong, let's go back through here and look. Statement. Statements. A computer program is a sequence of instructions. A statement is a type of instruction that causes the program to perform some action. There it is right there. Statements are by far the most common types of instructions in C++ programming. This is because they are the smallest independent unit of computation in C++ language in that regard. Okay, so besides this, so that is 2 sources for you. This one right here, this one right here. I'm going to go to the third source. If you don't want to do a lot of reading all the time, I mean, these both have examples. These both have reading. You don't want to do that all the time. You want to just take a day and stop reading. You just want to listen to somebody else talk, watch what they do, what sort of not. The next best source that I have found, the next best source. Yeah, pardon the thing right here. Yeah. Okay, pause that right there because we're not actually looking at this right here. I shouldn't have even opened that up. Let's go to right here instead. The next best source. This guy right here. This is the next best source. I don't know how he knows as much as what he knows about it, but I mean, apparently he's been studying it since he was a baby. It's the only thing I can figure. When he started making these videos, he was only in his 20s. Yeah, early 20s, if I'm not mistaken. I think he said 24 when he started making these 8 years ago. What I love about this is this right here. I started with that right there. There's 115 videos. But I can guarantee you're not going to understand everything he is talking about. I can guarantee it. He's gonna walk you through it, talk you through it, and all that sort of stuff. So you're gonna have to bounce back and forth. So yes, absolutely beginner right here. Once you get through all this stuff right here, you're still gonna be kind of lost. Start here. Go to these videos. Bounce back and forth. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 months now. Bouncing back and forth. I kind of haven't done any more of this yet. I haven't gone back to this yet because this right here and stuff, I pretty much know all this stuff now. Not 100% all of it, but most of all of it. I know enough of it to go to here now. My sources are bouncing between, where's the other one at? Yes, right here. My sources are bouncing between these 3 right here. This right here, reading this material. This right here, watching his videos, and he's got lots of videos. Thank you so much, buddy. I love these videos, if you ever even see this. And this right here. But if you want to take a hand in trying to learn another language besides C++, take your pick. I think there's probably more than what they even offer up here. Python, I don't know everything about Python. I don't even know exactly what all it can do. I never studied all of it, and I'm pretty sure that I mean, this is basically a starter point for any of these languages. You want to know if you want to enjoy something, I would start here. Try out the different languages. Go through the intros, go through a few of the examples, get through about half this right here if you don't like it. And it shouldn't take you more than maybe a day to get through about half the material in this. If you don't like it or you want to try something else, jump over to another one. I can tell you right now, HTML, CSS, they go together. So if you don't like HTML, you're not going to like CSS. JavaScript, it's not going to be the same. I do know people that deal just strictly with JavaScript, people that deal strictly with Python, people that deal strictly with Java, SQL, HPH. Bootstrap. And yes, I don't know about all this stuff right here. Might have no idea what this is. React. Nope. MySQL sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right there and stuff. It's been about an hour and 40 minutes. I'm kind of hot in the room again. I will continue this more later on once I cool off, or probably tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. This is my second video for today. We'll dive more into this stuff because my next step in these videos is probably going to be going back to here. Even though I've read through all this stuff, reading through it again, putting it in my memory, understanding it better the second time around will help. And yes, there's a lot of reading to do with this, or going through this right here, checking out a keyword. I've found that doing this right here, and like I said, I've gone through quite a few of these keywords. This is kind of what I'll do with these keywords right here. And like I said, I know people don't really like this idea, but you know what? It works. It kind of works. Kind of. I wouldn't say it's 100%. So, for example, what is the definition of the keyword auto for C, C++? Now, why do I use it this way? Well, if I, with AI inside of Chrome, AI can see, since you got C++ references over, I'll give you the real definition of auto straight from the C++ standard meaning, but explained in my way. Because yes, it does explain it in multiple different ways. So if you kind of give AI a way of understanding it and stuff, since I understand cars real well, yes, it gives me a mechanical aspect of it. How it would deal with it. Imagine you're in your garage. Normally, you label everything parts, say bolts and stuff, but sometimes a part is obviously just looking at it. It's obviously that, but sometimes the part is obvious just by looking at it. So auto is like saying you can see what part is what you can see what part this is. You label it for me. So it's basically like handing the bolt to somebody else, or handing whatever it is you have in your hand. Here, you know what this is. Label it, put it in the right bin. But most of the time you have to label it yourself. So in the code right here, I don't like using this right here. I don't mind using it, but I haven't used it in a while and I don't want to get in the habit of doing it. So instead of doing int x equals 10, and by the way, this can be written out in many different ways I've found. So you can have int x 10, oops, it's not right either. Int x 10. The spaces aren't even necessary. Int x equals 10. And granted, these top three right here actually have a different meaning to them. This one right here means the same thing as the very top one does. It just doesn't have the spaces in it. The spaces just are for readability for me or for anybody else reading the code. But these three right here actually have different meanings to them. From what I understand, if I'm not mistaken, this one right here is a copy. So x is just copied to 10, or 10 is just copied to x. That's why I say is. This one I can't remember. I'm trying to think of what the actual word is for it. I think it's direct. So x is actually 10, not a copy of. So if you, yeah, you can basically replace x with 10. And this one right here and stuff, because you can rename 10. But I mean, it gets complicated. And this one actually has a different meaning to it too. In this case and stuff, it's actually a list, a direct list. So you can actually put multiple things in that, and next can actually end up meaning a few different things. But again, complication stuff, we're not into that yet. So I think that's all I'm going to put in the video for today. Getting a little warm in the room. I need to open up the door. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, or whatnot and stuff, feel free to put them in. If you're trying to learn it yourself and everything like I am, like I said, these are my sources right here. Again, beginner source. Once you get to the beginner source, this right here and this right here. And then once you get to where you're getting out of the beginner phase, you can possibly add this right here. But understanding, uh, like if I click on auto right there, there's auto. But do you understand any of that? Or if we click that right there, do you understand this right here? Probably not. I'm still struggling with it myself. Anyways, so that's it for now. Have fun with whatever you can figure out from there. So, till next time, I guess.